Hi, it's Thursday and welcome to the daily video blog. Today we've got another guest speaker. We have David Jones, who's head of our library service. He's going to be talking about the ways in which you can use the library service, even during a period of lockdown, to actually access a lot of the really good information we've got as a council to help you, whether it's books or magazines or archives or whatever. So I'll leave David to do that in a minute. What I wanted to do just up front was give you two bits of information. One is that we have made our first awards under something called the Coronavirus Counsellors Fund. I think I've mentioned this on one of the previous blogs, but actually we've released about £250,000 from our public health fund to help be used during the coronavirus emergency. This money can be accessed locally via your local New Buckinghamshire Council councillors. It requires 3 of them to agree to a particular fund application. And then it will go into the relevant cabinet member for sign-off. But we've already made our first grants on that. It's to a group called Better Connected Beaconsfield. It's a new local charity combining representatives from the churches, councillors, general practice and others in the community. And they're working together really to help the more vulnerable members of the community in Beaconsfield. So we can support groups around the county. So if you need that support, please get in touch with your local Buckinghamshire Council councillors on that. That would be great. The second thing I just wanted to mention, because it's something very personal, but I've also had a couple of emails about it as well in the last 48 hours. I tend to try and get out in the early evening on my bike just for a bit of exercise, as I'm allowed to do each day. And it's great to see so many people out on their bikes, but also even walking in the roads, which is probably unusual for people most of the time. But there are still a few people driving, and they are driving at absolutely reckless speeds. They think because they're the only car on the road, they can do like 60 down a 30-mile-an-hour road. And that is really dangerous. You know, I've had people nearly take me off my bike a couple of times. And I would just urge you, if you are in your car and you're out at the moment, please think sensibly about the way you're driving. The open road doesn't give you a license to go at any speed, particularly if there are cyclists or even pedestrians in the road. Please take care and please drive safely and sensibly and with regard to others as well. So having said that, I'm going to pass over now to David Jones, head of a library service, who's going to tell you a lot more about how the libraries can help you at a time like this. David, over to you.
Thanks, Martin. And the first thing I want to do for all library customers is immediately give you some reassurance. If you've got books out worried about fines or anything like that, please don't. All the loans have been extended. The expiry date on your card has been extended. All fines have been waived. We'll come back to that when our library doors open, and as I say, there won't be any fines at all. So our buildings are closed, but our service isn't closed. Our staff have been very busy and they've been deployed in a number of different ways. Some of our staff are working in the hubs. They're doing food parcels, ringing up vulnerable residents, and organising deliveries of prescriptions and things like that. We've got staff who've been writing reviews and book recommendations and posting them out on Twitter and Facebook. Our staff are being trained because when our libraries, or some of our libraries, reopen, there'll be council access points, and we want to make sure that we can effectively signpost residents to the services of our new council. But a big part of our work has been to enlarge and enhance our digital resources. So from home, at no charge at all, 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can read, listen and learn digitally. We have e-books, e-audiobooks, e-magazines, e-newspapers and e-reference. With reading, we know that reading can enrich, inspire and enhance, but what we also know is there is an incredible and proven therapeutic value of reading. It can enhance well-being, self-awareness. It can also help us deal with difficult challenges. What we know about reading at this time is that the companionship of literature is needed more than ever. And so we have a massive range of e-books and e-audiobooks for all ages, for all tastes. We have a teen collection. We have a collection for children called Read Along, where you can read together as a family. And if you don't want to read and you'd rather listen, we've got lots of e-audio books, which means that while you're pottering around in the kitchen or out in the garden, if you've got a garden, or on your own or with your children, or even when you go to bed at night, you can have an e-audio book. And if you do go to bed at night with an e-audio book, we've got a facility where you can put a timer on the book and it'll switch itself off automatically. One of our most successful and popular services, though, is our e-magazines. We've got 143 different magazines, from Amateur Gardening to Sky at Night, from Diva to Viz. We've got a massive range to do with creativity, crafts, photography, gardening, cookery. If you're stuck inside, locked down, but dream of travel, we've got Lonely Planet, got Countryfile. If you want to find out about your roots, we've got Who Do You Think You Are? The popular ones in books, the top two, and it was joint and joint, equal ranking in March, were Radio Times and Auto Express, but followed very, very quickly by The Economist and New Scientist. If you have difficulties with your eyesight, we've got a range of accessibility functions, so you can increase the font or you can have some audio options. You have a completely unlimited number of items that you can download with magazines, and we've got lots of back copies. So for example, we've got Homes and Gardens going back to 2012. So you could download every single one of them. You could read one a week and it'd take you 2 years to catch up to where you are. If you like the news, and sometimes I don't want to listen to the news, but if you do like the news, you should check out Press Reader. We introduced it in January. It's a massive, massive bank of newspapers. It's got 6,000 titles from 100 countries in 40 different languages. You could get the dailies, British dailies, and if you wanted to, you could read them in 18 different languages. If, though, you'd rather go back in time, we've got the Times Digital Archive from 1785, and we've got the British Library 19th century British newspaper collection. So magazines, newspapers, or if you're bored, you want to stay active, do some quizzes, crosswords, that sort of thing, we've got all the Encyclopedia, Oxford English Dictionary, Nexos Music Library, and for a limited period of time, we've negotiated with Ancestry free access to library members, so you can look at Ancestry from home. We've increased the range of resources available, and we've made it a lot easier to join. So forget about proof of ID and getting a card in the post. Just Google Join Books Libraries. Join Books Libraries, it'll take you straight through to a page where you can join quite easily and immediately start using these wonderful resources. Since lockdown, the level of use for all of these resources has more than doubled. I know that our partners and our trustees and our volunteers from all of our community libraries, as well as the staff and the volunteers from all of our county libraries, really keen to get our doors open and to get you back in to see some familiar faces and hopefully some new faces. But at the moment, we're keeping our distance, we're staying safe, we're reducing travel to essential travel. And so what we're doing is staying at home, protecting the NHS and saving lives. However, we look forward to the day when we can welcome you all back in again. But until then, remember, the library buildings are shut, the service isn't. Our digital resources are all free and they're all yours, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Thank you. Over to you, Martin.
Thanks a lot, David. That was great, I have to say. It's a great tour de force in terms of the services that the library can provide. And it's not just physical books any longer, it's just so much is available online. Anybody who's interested, one of the things I do is I follow on Twitter the Buckinghamshire Libraries, and they do a really good Twitter feed. So there's recommended reads around a whole range of different material. And there's also information about how you can access magazines, and the reference then to Ancestry, which is that sort of website for accessing lots of information about family histories and so on. That again, that's on the Buckinghamshire Libraries Twitter feed as well. So my wife's picked up on that because she's really keen on researching family history. So that's a great resource. So please, please, please take advantage of that. It's really easy to do. And there's just so much information there for you, particularly at times like this when so many of us are basically confined to our houses for much of the day. So thanks again, David, for that. Just in conclusion, the only thing I wanted to say really was that if you are aware of anybody, and David referenced this a little bit in terms of some of our librarians doing this, if you're aware of anybody that needs extra support, particularly people who are vulnerable, we will make sure that they get support. So we will put them in touch with their nearest food bank, or potentially in touch with a volunteer or community group in their area. But also people may just want some social contact. So if it's as simple as somebody being in touch on a regular basis, we can arrange that too, either directly through our own staff or through volunteers. So if you do want to know of anybody like that, if I can give you a phone number, and I'll say this now, and obviously you can play this back if you don't catch it the first time, it's 01296 383 204. That's 01296 383 204. That will put you through to us. And if you know someone who's vulnerable that needs that little extra bit of support, please let us know. So having said that, thanks for watching again today. We'll be back tomorrow. And as always, keep safe, keep well. Bye there.